All right, we are back. Dynasty Trades and not really ever 5 anymore. I'm Clay.
I'm Shane. We're going to keep this to 5.
We're actually not, because we're going to go a little bit of a different strategy, a different route with this one tonight. Justin Herbert.
Yeah, so first off, before we get started, no doubt, thanks to everyone who subscribed, comment, thumbs up. We love it. We breached the 350 subscriber mark today, which means nothing. But maybe once when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can make like $9 a month from this show. So you split that 3 ways. What do we make per show then? Like 20 cents or something, Scott? Probably advanced math. I just crushed it there. No, but thanks for watching. If you get any value from the show, please subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Okay, so Justin Herbert, we're going to start by just setting a baseline. I'm going to throw out a couple trades. You tell me what side you'd take, because it's gonna take a lot to get this guy. So would you give me Justin Herbert if I gave you the 101, the 102, the 23 first, and I'll even throw in Carson Wentz?
Oh, you had me at the 23 first.
I don't. Is that enough for you, Scott? 101, 102, and a 23 first.
Start 10, yeah.
Yeah, he's gone. Love you, Justy. And it's let me just correct you real quick. The correct pronunciation of his name is Hebert.
Hebert.
Yeah. Justin Hebert.
I think I would probably pull the trigger, just because I'm banking the 23 first. I don't care about Carson Wentz, but maybe I find a sucker to be able to flip him too. But that 101 and the 102, that kind of gives me endless possibilities to make 2 picks, trade them on the market for players, trade down for extra picks. Yeah, I think I like the flexibility of having all those picks.
Okay. What if I were to give you Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and let's say the 111 in 2022, and you give me Justin Herbert, and give me Josh Palmer too? Let's trade stacks.
Oh, well, now you're asking for just no. I mean, Josh Palmer is a step too far. No, I'm not giving that up. I actually wouldn't take that. Stafford's a fine quarterback too, but Justin Hebert is a difference maker. So I'm holding on to Hebert.
So you pretty much just kind of establish the price. Like, if you're going to tier down into that outside of the top 12 guys, because we'll throw like Fields and Lance, right in the top 12-ish when you're talking like startup value. Like, you basically have to add a high-end wide receiver 1 or top 8 receiver or better to tier down from that like really elite tier to not even the second tier. Stafford's more like the third tier, where you might get a fringe QB 1 season, but you're probably on the back end of his career. So I think I'm with Shane. I think I'd pay it to get up to Herbert versus the other way down. And you guys know me. I don't take many pieces where I'm getting the 1 and I'm giving up the 2 strong pieces. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's usually the opposite process of what I follow.
Rock and roll. Okay, so Herbert's going to cost a lot, obviously, to get him, right? And when people have him, he doesn't tend to be, on the trade block or really on the market. Sure, anybody will sell for a lot, but he's tough to attain. CD Lamb, the show we just did yesterday, the day before, whatever it was, he's now attainable. Justin Herbert still is tough to attain. So, Scott, what's the play? If you want, I guess, if you're going to sell him, what are you going to require? I mean, we just talked about it, but let's hear you discuss it.
Well, I mean, if we're just going to act on how everything in Dynasty is now recency bias, then, I think you have to go to, I think the other 2 quarterbacks in the same tier are going to be Mahomes and Josh Allen. And then after that, you get to that next tier where I think Burrow and Herbert are pretty close, where you're not getting much juice on either one. But I do think you could probably maybe you already mentioned the Dak deal, but you guys know me. When I have one of the elite quarterbacks, I really don't like to move outside of that tier. So I really don't want to do the down to the Stafford range, almost no matter what you give me, unless you're giving me literally another first round startup pick, then that's where I might consider doing it. Like in a startup draft, if you told me instead of picking Herbert at the 103, I can trade down to the 109 and then pick up a 4th round pick or something, or a 3rd round pick. And that's where I would take Stafford, right? Like, that's basically the same type of deal you just laid out.
Right.
I mean, I think you have to have some conviction, but I think if you have some conviction on Kyler or Lamar Jackson, can you get Kyler in a 23 first for Herbert? After last night, maybe. We're recording this the day after the Cardinals looked absolutely putrid in the playoffs. Lamar I think there's a narrative forming around Lamar that, he may never be fully healthy all the time and missed a lot of games. Is he going to get re-signed? I think those would be my two targets because in a short window of time, I think they easily could outproduce Herbert in a given season or two. But, we've talked about it all the time, longevity. Like, do you care if Kyler Murray's not a starter in 3 years? That might be in the range of outcomes. But do I care about 3 years out? Shane, do you?
3 years? No, that's never going to happen. I have no idea what 3 years means. I'm playing at most 2 years out, and that includes this year. So really next year. If you want to trade for Bear, he's going to have to be one of those players that you're comfortable with overpaying for. And I've never been a person that's actually opposed to overpaying. I think at certain points, that's why you accrue a lot of assets, is so you can go, you know what? I just want to beat someone with a sledgehammer in their face, and I'm going to get the player that I want. So if he's your guy and that's what you want to do, and you're like, I don't care, I got 7 firsts over the next 2 years. Guess what? I'll trade 4 of them for a Bear. Make it happen and do it.
Let me stop you right there. What's the A Bear thing? Is this? Are you starting a trend?
No,
is what he's going to be called?
His name is Herbert. A Bear. That's how you spell it. Cajun. It's Creole.
Well, it sounds French. Will some French person?
Yeah, French Carol.
Yeah. Will some French person hit the thumbs down on this?
You don't remember Bobby Hebert from the Saints?
Bobby Hebert did not have an R, Shane.
Yes, it did.
It's Hebert.
Same thing, same difference.
It's all right.
There's no R, which is why it's Herbert
versus Herbert. Yeah.
No, you guys are Northerners. You just say it funny.
All right. As you were, go ahead.
Oh, I don't remember what I was saying. But yeah, basically, you're going to have to overpay to get him, and I'm fine with that because he's a guy that we think is at least, at worst right now, he's top 6 Dynasty quarterback. He's probably moved ahead of Kyler after last night's performance. Right, yeah. He might be above Lamar Jackson for a lot of people. He's probably right there with Josh Allen. He might even be him or Allen could be considered the one in some people's eyes, to be honest with you. I know that there's been some chatter about we've overvalued Mahomes by stupid people, but I'm content and I'd be okay with overpaying for him. You pay what you want to get for him. Understand that you might be taking a loss, but is it worth getting a quarterback that could throw up 40 points in a given week for you? That's going to be a top 5 performer for the next, at least 2 seasons. And even if you do play in 3 years, maybe even in 3 seasons.
So Scott, you mentioned Kyler in the 23 first as a pivot. So are you saying you would take Kyler in the 23 first over Herbert?
Yeah, I think the one downside with Herbert is, he's had 2 straight seasons of, we look at like yards per attempt, but if you just look at like ADOT for quarterbacks, like he's very good. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's going to be set up going forward. He's one of those guys where if you come in and you're coaching Justin Herbert or you're coaching Joe Burrow or some of these guys, like you've realized that the best play is to probably let them throw. The more that they can get away with throwing, that's probably the best play. So I don't think you're worried about like the volume's not going to be there. But the average depth to target for Herbert's not there. So that's one of the knocks that we've seen on some of these other guys. Like that's one of the knocks on Kyler Murray. And so I think that's one of the things that might keep his ceiling across in a whole season down just a little bit, to where if he's not going to run like Josh Allen, then he probably doesn't have a ceiling any higher than what we've seen from like Mahomes the last couple of years. Like that's the absolute peak of what he's going to be. So if he's already priced there, do you pivot to Herbert or do you pivot to Kyler Murray for an extra first?
That's the smart play, right? But it's also the hard thing to do because you're coming off a game where, and frankly, kind of a half season where Kyler Murray looked. One of our friends on Twitter put it out there. He looked like a glorified Jalen Hurts. So that's when you make moves like that.
He should be, but there's a little bit of doubt. So you get a little bit of doubt in your mind, like, oh man, am I going to pivot off to Kyler and then maybe he goes and plays baseball? Like you saw people posting that after last night. Like he's going to quit and play baseball in 2 years. You know what I mean? So that's what keeps you from that trade. But honestly, are you going to tell me that Justin Herbert's going to outscore Kyler Murray the next 2 years? That's not a bad bet on either side, right? So if it's 50-50, why wouldn't you take advantage of the reactionary market for the next 2 weeks that Kyler sucks and he's going to get benched, or he's never going to get a second contract, or he's going to be playing in the MLB in 2024? Like, take the extra first.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing about the Dynasty community, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. We love latching on the negativity and then just piling on until that negativity becomes an absolute fact, even though it's not true. So, yeah, I definitely would make that move. I would do that probably today while people are still thinking about Kyler Murray getting ready to play for the St. Louis Cardinals or whoever the hell it is that drafted him. Oakland A's. It was the A's. And there's absolutely no way he would go play for that joke of a franchise. But anyway.
Okay, so do a couple more here. So Kyler Murray and Cam Akers for Justin Herbert. And I know you could probably flip Cam Akers for that 23 first that you want.
Did you not watch the game last night? I will get several firsts for Cam Akers. He is the greatest running